Howdy and welcome to the Mark Driscoll Show. Guys, we have a show for you today. We are joined by Pastor Josh McPherson and Adam James, special guests with a big announcement at the end. We are going to get into everything from the woke veggie tales to should you leave Washington State and all kinds of stuff about woke pastors. And it is a good time today, so you don't want to miss out on any segment. Tune in all the way to the end. There's some great things in show for you today. Well, thank you, Pastor Josh, for joining us for the Mark Driscoll Show. This is going to be fun. We're up in Washington, so
we're in your office, man.
Let's go.
Yeah. So you guys want to explain your relationship a little bit and how you guys met and why you guys talk so much?
We do talk a lot. I met Mark at a baseball game. He sent me an email through the city. The city?
Piece of technology way back. Yeah, back in like I don't know the 90s. So I had a baseball tournament for my son Zach over here in Eastern Washington, and I heard there was a young church planter who was doing a good job, and I was like, what the heck? I'm sitting at the baseball field for a couple of days. If you want to come hang out and ask questions, come hang out. I think I was running 6,000, and you were running like 100.
Yeah, 150. Oh, we were 150.
And he showed
That's
up.
a big difference.
Yeah, don't
But he
cheat
showed
enough
up
50.
with his daughter, Ella Mae, who's turned out to be one of my most favorite people. I just had breakfast with her. Took breakfast to her this morning, got a couple hours with her. And so once he brought Ella Mae, I was like, well,
Secret weapon.
yeah.
Josh is fine. Ella's awesome.
Josh's plus one is a real one.
Yeah, I'm not an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I remember getting the baseball game, and Mark was like, bring all your questions. And I remember what struck me about it was, at the time, it's like, blowing up, traveling nationally, all the things. It's like, back then he was a big deal,
Oh, we're going here.
Yeah. And now I'm just a grandpa.
Yeah,
which is fine.
No, it's just Uncle Mark.
I FaceTime with 2 grandkids in the last 12 hours. I'm living my life.
Grandpa Driscoll. And so what struck me was like, my gosh, this guy's rocking and rolling. He's a big ticket item, and he's going to meet with a church planter in a small town who's running 150, and he's like, bring your questions. So I brought my questions, and I brought my secret weapon, Ella Mae, and we talked all day. And he did more missiological work in that afternoon than I'd done in like the 3 years up our church plant, and told me what to think about, what to consider, how to identify strongholds, how to build a leadership team. It was awesome.
What's the biggest lesson you learned out of that conversation?
Be available for young guys.
That's cool. So what he modeled.
Yeah, it wasn't even anything he told me specifically. It was like somebody who appeared big time made time for somebody who wasn't big time. And that was a big deal for me. And it spoke a lot to his heart, his humility. He wasn't just looking for guys that could advance his thing. You genuinely wanted to serve pastors, men, husbands, families. And then we went to dinner that night at Los Camperos, and he bought the place out of dessert. We were trying to figure out
for dinner. She's like, I don't know, it all looks good. So we got
one of everything. Yeah.
You haven't changed at all.
Yeah, nothing changed. And they brought out like crates of desserts, and it was like, my gosh. And I think another thing I learned was just the importance of celebrating and not cutting any corners when it goes to spoiling kids. And I always tell the story. We went down to my truck, and it's like 10:30 at night in Leavenworth. If you've been to Leavenworth, 2,000 people, small town. They shut down at 6, and it's 10:30, and we're in the middle of the town. No cars there. And he goes, "Is there like a Toys R Us open around here?" I'm like, "No, there's not a Toys R Us open." And he's like, "Well, give me a minute." And he walks to an ATM, comes back, and he hands each of my kids a $100 bill, and he says, "Do not let your dad take this and give it to the church or do some stupid Jesus juke thing like that. This is for you to buy toys for yourself, because all kids are special, but pastors' kids are very special." And it was Uncle Mark from then on out. And the lesson I learned was like, my gosh, take time to invest in young leaders, make sure their kids feel loved and treasured, and you might just end up with a lifelong friend.
Yeah. Well, and they were over here, and so they started inviting us over for vacations. And so like, hey, we got our family, and they're like, hey, some friends of ours are going to be gone for a week. They got a house on the lake or the river. They got a boat. And I'm like, well, that sounds fantastic. So we started hanging out over here and then attending Grace City. It became home away from home for us. Yeah. And our kids started referring to Josh as Uncle Josh and St. Sharon. We call her St. Sharon. And so, yeah, just been a long friendship. I was talking to LMA this morning, probably about 15 years.
Yeah, it feels longer than that.
Yeah.
Dog years.
Dog years. Pastors live in dog years. But yeah, we were just looking through pictures. We got tons of pictures of our kids on your knee on a boat, driving the boat. Uncle Mark let them drive the boat. And so it's been
well, and you
a lot
guys
of special
staying with
memories.
us. So they have 2 kids with spina bifida. So then there were times they're like, we're coming over the mountains. We got an emergency surgery. We got to go to children's hospitals. Like, well, then stay with us. So,
cool.
they would move in and stay with us, and we didn't know how long. Like sometimes a month at a time.
It was 31 days at one point. And and it was kind of like
It was Christmas.
It was.
Oh, wow.
You're either going to be best friends or never speak to each other again.
Yeah.
And
I was like, come on in.
Thankfully, it worked out to be best friends. But I
Wild.
mean, I've shared often, but it's like, he was like, hey, you need the Jeep, you got the Jeep. You need food, you need a car, you need transportation. You rented a house for us for 4 months on the hill there at Children's
Because he
Hospital
couldn't
with
do another
Gideon.
month with you.
He's like,
like 4
wasn't
months.
if I
Yeah.
rent this guy a house, he won't be with
Well,
me.
4 months at that point, we're Mormons doing polygamy, you know. So there is a 31-day expiration date, you know. Yeah.
30 days, it's Christian. 31 days,
Yeah.
It's Mormon.
it's super gay.
Yeah.
Super gay.
Yeah.
But I remember that as a church planner, like you don't have margin, you don't have money.
Yeah.
And so if you have a medical emergency or something, you don't have money to go rent another house for 4 months and rent a car for 4 months. I mean, you don't have that.
No,
So-
it was incredible. And yeah, lots of lessons I take away. We could talk about a ton of them, but one of them is just generosity. You know, it's like build an organization of strength. So you're in a position of strength to bless those who aren't yet. And of course, Mark and Grace are ridiculously generous with cars, dogs, food, homes, money, resources. So those are sweet days. They were hard days, but the friendship made it easier. When Sharon had a heart attack, they zipped over to the mountains with a box full of toys for our kids and took our kids out. So Sharon and I could have a date. And
Bought
go
an
for it.
Xbox and showed up with the kids to distract them so you guys could go process what
Yeah,
to do.
I thought I showed up with like Bible, verses. No, it's Xbox, our kids' first video game.
See, the thing that everyone gets wrong is Jesus was so fun that the kids ran to him.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so Pastor Mark is fun and kids run to him.
Totally.
He's
Yep.
not a Bible thumper where kids run
No,
away.
I remember him saying one time, "You represent the kingdom." So when kids come and see you, you're the kingdom man. The kingdom man should be the funnest man in the room
And the most generous.
and the most generous. Yep. So that was a big lesson I learned from Pastor Mark. Yep.
That's good.
And then their family, what I learned from them is your dad and mom are awesome. They've been
Yes.
doing ministry and marriage and family ministry for their entire life.
Yep.
And so you and your brother are next generation, and then your kids, and then your brother's kids are next generation. So there's 3 generations of family doing
Yep.
really healthy ministry. You guys love each other. You get along well. They're differentiated, but the relationships are really healthy. And so it was a great glimpse into a multi-generational, really healthy family system.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, what's fun is we've talked about a lot. You're 10, almost exactly 10 years older than me, so almost like an older brother.
Yeah.
So not a father figure, like older brother, and spiritual father, but in age older brother. And so you've always just been around the corner from me in the season of life. I don't have an older brother. I'm the oldest. And so it's been fun. I get pictures of every season of life that you're in, and it's always followed up with, this is what you're,
Here's what's coming.
here's what's coming. Look forward to it. This is it's going to be awesome. And when you and Ashley got married, it's pictures of that process and going through the courtship process and the marriage process. We're there for the wedding, and now my son's gotten married, and now you guys have grandkids. I think 5 or 6, and more coming.
5, little girl, be here any day.
Yeah.
Sadie's on the way. Can't wait to meet her.
So
It's number 6.
Every week I get 15 pictures, and here's your future. And so it's been fun to have an older brother around the corner going, here's what's coming. It's awesome. Yeah. Keep your eye on the ball. Ministry comes and goes. Family stays. But then what my family offered was, because of generationally, we were a season ahead of where Mark's at. First generation Christian. Obviously, your parents have come to faith in Christ now, but didn't start that way. And so this is what Mark is what I'm going to be in 10 years. Yep. My dad is what Mark wants to be in 20 years.
Yep.
So it's kind of fun how the families have layered together that way. And
Yeah.
Sharon said last night at Sacred Assembly, she said, because we for those watching, Pastor Mark here preached at our Sacred Assembly last night, and we have like worship and prayer afterwards, and like the line to mom and dad's always like stacked. And Mark,
Everybody wants his parents to pray for him.
whatever they got, it would just, if I can get a little of that
get
on
that
me,
on our robe.
that'd be great.
Yeah.
And Sharon said Mark was like, kept waiting to I want Greg and Kane to pray
well,
for
Grace
us.
wanted. She's like, we need him to pray for us. I was like, babe, at some point I got to go eat dinner.
Yeah,
it was like 9:30. I'm like, we're never gonna get prayed for.
Yeah,
but
so they didn't get the Greg blessing. But I'll tell Dad to say something nice to you to the Lord today.
That's great. Yeah,
just throwaway comment.
Yeah. Lord be with Mark today. It'll be great. No, Mom and Dad love Mark and Grace. And what was interesting, my dad first heard you preach at a Gospel Coalition event in Chicago 1,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And you did your nations and state talk, and then talked about Reformed in theology, evangelical in mission, and is it complementarian in relationships or spirit, and something, those categories that you kind of gave all of us handles for.
Some states need a nuke now.
Some states need to go away. But for my dad, who's been a spirit and word guy, he'd never heard someone who is so distinctly word based be so spirit filled. And so for my dad, I was like, oh, I like that guy, and that was 15 years ago, 20 years ago maybe. And so there's been a lot of love and gratefulness from McPherson's to the Driscolls for a long time now.
Yeah.
Very cool. And one of the things you guys both have as a huge priority at your local churches, both you have online ministries, but a local church, and the heart at both is the men's ministry. So maybe talk about why you guys see men's ministry at church as so important, and so important for the senior pastor to be involved in.
Well, I mean, you're the king of it. I could jump in. I mean, I learned from Pastor Mark 15, 20 years ago. You win the men, you win the families. You win the families, you win the city. You win the city, win the state. So it starts with the men. It keys off the men. All the stats we all know about. I mean, some of my most viewed clips are when I say simple things like, if the man comes to church 90% of the time, the wife and the kids get saved. If the wife comes 20% of the time, people are like, are you kidding me? I mean, if you win the men, you win everything.
Totally.
The money, the businesses, the influence, the family, the wife. If you don't get them in, I think my conviction has grown over 20 years of ministry, seeing what happens when you don't get them in. Mm-hmm. If you don't win them in. Or you
only get the soft men, the weak men, the soft woke men.
Are we calling them men?
Well, men adjacent. Yeah.
Exactly.
It's like Moses with the promised land. I'm not into manhood, but I can see it from here.
Kind of attracted to it.
I've heard of it. It looks nice.
Yeah.
Gonna die before I get there.
Smells like barbecue and bourbon, but I'm not sure because I've never smelled those things.
Good chance I'll be in the grave before I get there.
Yeah.
But if in ministry, you see what happens if you don't win the men. Mm-hmm. You get to go find 10 other men to take their place. Because when one man doesn't do his job, it's remarkable how much work it takes to replace him. As a husband, as a father, in the community, in the government.
The number of government agencies that need to come into existence to replace one father is
it's staggering.
But then there's nobody to tax to pay for that work.
Yeah.
Because that guy isn't generating revenue.
That's right. Yeah. So it's for me, the silver bullet. And that doesn't mean we're devaluing or not talking about women too. But for me, my calling is to step toward the men, to call them to be men. And then if I can do that successfully, it actually changes the focus of my job. Because rather than the focus of my time being doing their job, I get to help equip all of them to do theirs, which I think is what the Bible tells us to do. We're to equip others to do their job, not do their job for them. And pastors get in that error a lot. Let's get a youth ministry to help raise the kids. No. Your job is not to raise the kids. Your job is to equip the parents to disciple their kids and then come alongside them as a community of faith to provide a place where their kids can incubate and be discipled and saturated in an environment that's God-centered. That's very different than youth group to raise the kids.
Yeah.
So my mindset's always been, how do I work within the jurisdictions that God has established in humanity in terms of individual, family, church, government? And then what are the roles that God's given men and women in those jurisdictions? And how can I equip them to fulfill their duty in those jurisdictions and responsibilities? And that's when we begin realigning with the kingdom of God and see truth, goodness, and beauty come together in our communities, I believe.
Yeah, and part of it too is the church historically, since the world wars, has been led by and custom architected for women.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a historical problem. I mean, if you read the New Testament, there's men like Paul. You're looking at strong men, very strong men. You look at the record of the early church. You're looking at incredibly strong, resilient men who overcame hardship. When you look at reformers and those in the Protestant tradition, guys like John Knox. I mean, he could wield a two-handed sword with one sword.
Yeah.
So you'd have a one-handed sword, and a two-handed sword was so big, Dude could wield it with one hand.
Yeah.
I mean, so
He's a dude.
He's a dude.
Yeah.
He would pound the pulpit and literally fragments of it would go flying into the audience.
Yeah.
I mean, he was
My man.
Yeah, he's that. He's like WWE. You know, he's off the top
your spirit
turnbuckle
animal.
kind of guy. And so you go from that to in the world wars, the majority of young, strong alphas went to war. So now the church is filled with women, children, older men, and soft, weak men who didn't go to war. So then the church becomes custom built for women, children, and soft, weak men. The men come back from combat and they're like, we don't have a brotherhood, we don't have a general, we don't have a mission. That sense of brotherhood and camaraderie is gone.
Yeah.
And so they never came back to church.
Yeah.
And while they were at war, the women decided mauve was the chosen color for all Baptist churches. Seafoam green was the backup option. The guy leading worship didn't make the cut for the military because he's a little fruity and pretty soft. And so the music is soft. The women and children feel safe. The old guys up front and the men are like, we're never coming back. So since the First and Second World War, which is really the dawn and the rise of evangelicalism is within that era, it has been largely female driven. And so you know, Christian radio is safe, positive, uplifting for the whole family, which is like, okay, well then there's
No
whole
dude ever
sections of
wanted.
the New Testament we can't even read as the verse of the day.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know,
We've talked about buying a radio
Yeah.
station.
yeah, like we
Yeah,
can't read
absolutely.
Eglon, Ehud, the you know, guys that got stabbed and their entrails
Tamar.
fell out, and
Yeah.
Tamar, and you know, we can't really tell the story of
Yeah.
Esther. You know,
Yeah.
she
Basically
was,
like Matthew left. You can't
yeah.
you can't get in any of
And
it.
so all of a sudden it becomes this sort of sanitized suburban Karen housewife,
Yeah.
you know.
Can you imagine verse of the day? Hey, verse of the day. And David carried around 10,000 foreskins in his bag. And now that's a new song.
Ashley
from
wants to rip it off and do it with Mark.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the discouraging verse of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Judas hung himself and his intestines spilled out.
Yeah. God bless you.
Now praying for your mother. You know, like, I mean, it's just, I mean, if you just, because you grew up in the church. I didn't. So I was jack marginal Catholic. So I grew up and I got saved reading the Bible. So I came to the Bible without this veneer of, you know, church upbringing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is a
weird.
wild book.
Yeah.
And there's some crazy stories, and there's some people that there's no way they would get hired at any Christian organization. Like nobody would hire Samson to work at a Christian school.
Right.
Nobody. Nobody.
No. Well, the teachers wouldn't be safe.
The men would be dead, the women would be pregnant.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, the building gets torn down. Total disaster.
Yeah. So I'm
blind
reading it,
janitor.
I'm like, this is a lot more wild than the expression of faith that manifests out of it.
It's interesting. You're talking about that because you were always known as like the edgy pastor who's pushing the edge, you know, and
I didn't know there was an edge.
yeah. What's this edge you speak of?
Yeah.
Well, there's that, but then it's thinking about it. You were actually just teaching verse by verse through the Bible. That's what you've been doing for
preached and
30
taught
years.
40 books of the Bible.
Yeah, and so wild that teaching verse by verse through 30 books, or how many say?
40 of the
books of the
66
Bible
makes you radical.
makes you edgy, because that mauve seafoam green evangelicalism hadn't heard a lot of those verses, and so they thought you were being edgy and crass and trying to get clickbait, whatever. And you're like, no, I'm preaching verse by verse through Nehemiah, through Ezra, through Song
Go
of
through
Solomon,
Genesis.
through Exodus.
Noah's naked in his tent and his son is walking in, and we're not sure what happened, but we know it was enough to curse the grandson, so it wasn't good. You know? And you're like, where was the Veggie Tale for that? Where was the Veggie Tale for that?
Speaking of veggie, we won't go there, but
Yeah,
the
but-
Veggie Tale guy ended up going Fruit Loops.
No, really?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know things.
I
Update
know.
us. Update
Hey,
us.
when you
Spill the tea.
Well, this isn't like people. You always say you're online. People think he's just saying that. He's literally not online.
He hasn't been on social
No,
media in 4 years.
I'm like, hey, bro, we have a new president.
Great. Is he for us or against us? Yeah.
Are things getting better or worse out there? And so he's literally not online. And so like I've even sent you some things, and then I'm like, oh, do you want to know about this? And you're like, no, bro. I'm like, oh, Philip Yancey blew. You're like, I don't even want to know about this. But yeah, dude, the guy that what's his guy, the VeggieTale guy's name? Phil Vischer. Bro, you haven't been following Phil Vischer? That guy's like off
What does
the
that
reservation.
mean? Is he tranny? Is he?
I don't think so yet.
Is he gay? Is he universalistic?
Yeah,
like-
what
he's
is
like-
the loops?
Is he a
he's like-
lesbiterian? Like, what team did he join?
Those are a lot of boxes to check. I think he's trying to check a bunch of them. He's like hardcore crazy woke, like DEI, like Trump's the spawn of Satan. I mean, like, you know, Russell Moore is like the second coming of Jesus.
probably cheating on his
I
wife.
think they're even like a Bible study together. I mean, like it's wild, bro. What he's promoting, what he's pushing, videos. He's even done some like response videos to me, I think, where he's just like, this guy is like, what's everything that's wrong with Christianity, Christian nationalism, blah, blah, blah. It's wild. We should pull up a video and just play it right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Go
like,
ahead.
I mean, not to like, well, this guy's probably earned it. But the point being, how did we get here? Oh, VeggieTales. Yeah, VeggieTales.
well, and the
wasn't
subculture
gonna-
in evangelicalism.
Yeah.
It's just strange, and it always goes south and to the left.
Well, it always goes soft.
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, and again, I'm not trying to knock VeggieTales in terms of what it was in the day, in terms of getting kids interested in the Bible.
And vegetables. I mean,
Guys giving vegetables a bad name.
now the dude is he's trashing vegetables. You know, I mean,
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's so funny. But yeah, you were reviewed edgy by preaching verse by verse through the Bible. That's wild. I've had crazy conversations with pastors, and steer us wherever you want to go, Landon. Your show, not mine. But I have a ton of pastors call me, and they're like, hey, you're crushing church. It's going great. We're growing. We just don't know how to get the men here. And I'm like, well, back up. Like then you're not crushing church then.
Yeah.
You know, just gathering a bunch of people for an event on a weekend doesn't necessarily mean you're crushing church.
no, you have a killer women's conference that meets
totally.
52 weeks a year.
Totally. And I've literally had pastors
Yeah.
say to me, like, I'm comfortable talking to women. I don't know how to talk to men. And so part of the crisis is we just don't have men in ministry who are men. And we've talked about the fact that, like, I think the next wave of pastors that I'm seeing coming up.
I just want to apologize for my whole generation of pastors.
Yeah.
They are on a good day worthless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're weak. They're soft woke. They try to play the third way, and Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, straddle the fence, which is only a good way to chafe your crotch. I mean, they don't do conflict. They virtue signal. They're soft. They're soft woke. Most of my generation, and they're not, and the older guys aren't finishing well.
No.
like-
We
it's like-
put together a list of guys.
It's like
that-
I'm in my 70s. It's time to
Starting a
take my
fair.
pants off. It's like, really? Like you're in the 2-minute drill of your life. And now,
That's the play you call?
and I was like, I'm anti-underwear from this point forward. Like, really? This is it. This is the
This
go
is how you're
forward
gonna-
plan.
It's bizarre. We made a list of guys that not just like have drifted, but have like crashed. It's a long list of guys that were the go-to guys.
Yeah, 15 years ago,
15
you'd be
years
like,
ago.
those are the fathers of
It's
the faith right now.
it's wild. And when we talked about like the positive, neutral, negative worlds, that Aaron ran kind of the categories he gave there. And he talked about like the strategy in positive world, the strategy in neutral world, the strategy in missiology in negative world. And the longer my team and I looked at it, Adam and I were even kicking around. I would not fuss with it because Aaron's a good friend, he's a very intelligent, good guy. But I think I would reframe some of it. It's not just that there were different missiological strategies for different eras in the church. I think in part what got us into negative world was the missiological strategies of neutral and positive world.
100%.
And so because right now, I believe the play is apostolic boldness. That's where we need to be. And as I've thought about it, I'm like, that's kind of always the play. That's like the whole book of Acts. Be apostolic.
All the
be
good
bold,
guys in the
be
New
courageous.
Testament got killed by the government.
Every one of them. And so this whole, like you're talking your generation, it's like, hey, let's go neutral world. Let's go Switzerland. Let's not engage in politics. To be faithful to Jesus is to ignore a massive section of society that Jesus actually talks a lot about, was regularly engaging, and his church and kingdom actually ended up turning upside down. And so it's just wild to think that to be faithful to Jesus means we never talk about politics or the public square. And so we ceded that ground to the enemy, and it's currently kicking our butt. And so one of my hearts, I know Adam here too, might be in the show later, is to step back into the public square in a way that's admirable, bold, courageous, truth-telling, truth-loving, like the pastors that are our forefathers of our nation. It was the preaching of George Whitefield. I don't care how much J.D. Greer runs him down in his book. Literally, J.D. Greer can do this in the show. Edit out if you
You
want.
could do whatever you
J.D.
want.
Greer in his book literally is like, George Whitefield bad, Martin Luther King Jr. good. The guy that preached the gospel faithfully, started orphanages and schools
Luther-
up and down
so-
the colonials.
So Martin
provided
Luther
the
King
theological-
Jr. just, yes, we're against slavery, we're for civil rights, but theologically, he's not a Christian,
No.
and morally,
No. So when POTUS got in office and declassified a bunch of these stuff, bro, the things that the FBI was tracking him doing,
Yeah, it's worse than Diddy parties.
bro. Gay prostitutes, rapes, recordings of him coaching young black men through how to rape a girl real time in their hotel rooms. It's staggering.
well, and his theological conviction. I mean, universalism. He is not a guy who believes in the Jesus that we believe in,
That's exactly right.
or the Christian
That's
convictions
exactly
that we
right.
hold dear. And so that he's a pastor. It's like, well, so was Judas.
That's right.
That we need more than that to
Yeah.
put you on the team.
Yeah, and it's like if you're a white guy and you say true things about a black guy, you're all of a sudden racist. Like no, like we actually consider men to stand on their own character, literally taking him at his word.
Well, if a guy denied the gospel and was a sexual pervert and white, I would say he's not a faithful Christian, especially a pastor.
yeah, equal
Period.
playing field
Yeah,
for
just-
all men to be judged by their character.
Yeah. Let's go with his own words.
That's right.
By the content of character.
That's right. Not the color of their skin. Yep.
I'll just play him at his own words.
Dude, I've actually met his, I think it's his niece. She's a sweet gal. One of the only King family members left who's pro-life. She's loves Jesus, very, very sweet, and willing to be honest about her uncle's the legacy of his political activism that was helpful in some ways, unhelpful in others, and then the reality of who he was as a person.
Yeah.
It's like this. Wow. The point being, J.D. Greer's like, be like Martin Luther King Jr. I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah,
and like running down George Whitefield as a racist, it's like, dude, my gosh, George Whitefield's preaching brought about the Second Great Awakening that was the atmosphere that the founders were saturated in and birthed our nation out of. It was the faithful preaching of the gospel that created the atmosphere through which, hey, liberty, life, private property ownership, the value of human beings as made in the image of God with intrinsic dignity, worth, and value. That's all Bible stuff. That's all stuff that came about because a guy was willing to preach faithfully the gospel up and down the West Coast, still holds the record for the longest horseback trip in history, recorded history. That's George Whitefield. Where are those dudes who are just wearing themselves out?
Meanwhile, you're in your study, writing a book that you'll get a 6-figure advance for, talking trash about him.
Yeah,
Meanwhile, he's on a horse yelling himself to the point where he's coughing up blood to lead people to Christ.
Yeah, he died early.
Yeah.
Because his life was spent. So like, as we've talked about, I think this new generation of pastors that I'm seeing come up, like 30 to 40, 45, they're differentiated, homeschool their kids, unplug from the government to state matrix schooling system.
Well, they've been through COVID and BLM and elections.
Been through COVID.
And,
They're not connected to a denomination. They're winning dudes. They're running 3, 4, 5, 6, 10,000.
They're not cessationists. They love the Holy Spirit.
They love the Holy Spirit. They're not online because they don't have time to be online. They're building stuff in real life. And so it feels like there is this army of really good, faithful young dudes coming up that nobody knows about because they're not on X all day, but they're out there and they're doing good things and they're engaging in what I believe is faithful missiology, preaching the gospel courageously, being the conscience of the government with the word of God. Because if the church stops heralding the truth and speaking to the government from a position over the government, because God is over government, then the government loses its conscience and does stupid things like my state's doing right now, which is basically
murder children, punish families, tax businesses, seize property, and encourage lawlessness and
at every level.
Oppose law enforcement and call it all justice.
And call it's insane. It's insane. So I believe there's a season coming. I'm praying this in the American experiment where I've told this to Landon, the Black Robe Regiment rises again.
Yep.
I'm tempted to start a podcast called the Black Robe Regiment.
Another podcast. I love it.
Yeah, and people are like, I had a chance to mention it to some folks in the White House, and a lot of them were like, Black Robe Regiment. And I'm like, the Black Robe Regiment. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, oh my gosh. And
Explain it for that person that has no idea.
Well, you're months and months and months into the American Revolutionary War. I like to call it the War for Independence, because revolutions come and go. War for Independence was a shift in ideology. War for Independence, and it's like, we're losing, not good. British are sending over massive ships, supplies, soldiers. We got guys running, single shot muskets, very little powder. Their farms are being taken over. It's just guerrilla warfare. And on June 19th, George Washington is sworn in as the Commissioner General for the Continental U.S. Army. He's got 15,000 men under his rule, under his leadership, and they're going to try to save the colonies. Well, it's not looking good. I mean, we're down to like 1,000 soldiers. They're at
which is wild.
Valley Ford. Yeah, it's if they don't survive the winter, it's over. And there was a lot of Presbyterian churches at the time, and a Presbyterian pastor stood in his pulpit in a very, very famous sermon, said, "I will not stand in this pulpit and preach about liberty and preach about justice and preach about freedom and then send young men to die for that which I proclaim is true." And he said, the time for preaching has ended. The time for action has come. He takes off his black Presbyterian preacher's robe, reveals revolutionary colonial army uniform, marches out the center aisle. They never see him again. He went and died fighting for freedom. And not to overstate the contribution, but history, I think, is very, very clear in terms of the significant contribution that a bunch of these pastors made. So cool. Because they were good at gathering people, comforting, pastoring, leading people, and they knew how to think strategically. And so the British gave them a name, the Black Robe Regiment, kind of as like a derogatory term. They took it as a badge of honor. And it wasn't in small part to the pastors actually taking up arms, going to war, and killing British soldiers in war that contributed to leading to the freedom that our nation was birthed under. And so Black Robe Regiment, man, pastors are not only willing to talk, but act for the sake of what they say they believe.
Would you trust most pastors in war with you? That like not your group
in
of guys.
Physical war?
Yeah.
No, bro. Today. I don't want to get my rear blown off because some guy dropped a grenade.
The average pastor could not go to war and be successful.
Yeah, I mean, if
the average pastor could not go to Nerf war and be successful.
Yeah, it's just.
But that's where I think the better leaders we're seeing, they're coming out of the military
and law enforcement.
They're coming out of law enforcement. Yeah. They understand chain of command. They understand conflict. They understand pain tolerance.
Yeah.
And
they're not intimidated by online mobs. I mean, so like we planted John Lovell in Rome, Georgia, Grace City, Rome.
He could give a crap.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I was talking with, we just hired Brent Frank. He's principal at Garden City Academy, and he's helping us here at the church as well, help build Stronger Man Nation, help me build out ManCard 2.0, helps me lead ManCard for our boys, write a patch of stuff you know all about. And like, this is a guy who's like sat in a pastor's meeting with me a week ago and said, I've held a woman as she bled to death and took her last breath in my arms with a knife sticking out of her neck. I've hunted the man who put that knife there with her blood on me in the dead of night. I've put my fingers in the holes of men that I put there. And I'm telling you, tonight, I've never sat with a greater group of leaders than the pastors in this room. And like, that's the kind of pastoring mind building that like warriors who've actually been shot at could sit around a room of pastors and go, okay, no, this is mission. These are dudes. This is leadership. This is manhood. And when you've been shot at, literally, I mean, Brent Frank chasing a drug kingpin around a corner, comes around the corner, got overzealous, first year a cop, runs around the corner, gun in his face, revolver, double action, pulls the trigger, click, hits on an empty chamber.
Wow.
It's like when you've had that happen.
Yeah.
An email isn't going to take you down.
Julie Roy's blogging about you doesn't really bother you.
And definitionally, that's what a shepherd is. Like we talk about this a lot. Yeah. A shepherd's a lot more like a cowboy than it is this cute picture with a lamb.
That's right.
Like a shepherd defended the flock from lions, bears, wolves, and they knew how to fight.
Yeah. Yeah. So guys have been trained tactically. I think it's actually easier to go from the tactical world to the theological world than vice versa.
Yeah.
So Brent's been on board here for a year or two. He's been growing as a Christian for many, many years. Yeah. And so he has that as his foundation, but his professional training is tactician, strategy, war. Well, he can make the shift easy then to the theology side. It can be tough to take a guy from seminary and help him think tactically and strategically.
Because a seminary is a intensely safe environment.
Yes.
It's like a college campus. Somebody else pays the bills, somebody else cuts the grass, somebody else runs the security, and the professors just show up and teach in the womb of a very coddled environment.
Yep.
And so you can be a very safe man.
Yep.
Once you head out and you're leading, you're like, we need to get property. We need to buy it. We need to generate revenue. We need to manage employees. We need to have a security plan. We need to secure our environment. I mean, you're dealing now with the reality of leadership.
Well, in a hostile environment, and you taught me this, it's hard to build things, easy to tear them down.
Yeah.
So it took how many years to build the Twin Towers, how many minutes to bring them down? And so if you're going to build anything of substance and significance, you have to also be prepared to defend it. So it's the sword and trowel of Nehemiah 4.
Yep.
And so what we found is we thought what we built people would love, because we're here to bless men and bless women and bless children and strengthen the family and help men build businesses and help women thrive and flourish and help dudes that are absent show up and help dudes, rebuke dudes who are heavy-handed to repent and submit to spiritual authority and help, all the things, right? And then you realize there is a demonic force that hates what we're doing and is going to wield assets in the physical realm to attack us. And so all of a sudden what you've built to bless other people, you have to now defend.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not willing to defend it, you're going to lose it.
Yep.
And so I tell churches all the time, governance is more important than theology. Yeah, because if you don't have good governments that's built to fight and defend and do battle, you'll lose your theology.
Yep.
It will get changed.
Entire
and
denominations are complete case studies in that.
Yep.
Very rarely does a denomination that is liberal become conservative.
That's right.
But every time a conservative denomination becomes liberal.
Yep.
I think you talked about the VeggieTales guys earlier, and I had the guys pull a clip that I think will prove your guys' point very clearly on how liberalism just creeps in.
Yep.
Just the idea, the number of people who are saying he was killed for his faith.
Yeah.
Right.
He was killed because he was a Christian. And I don't know what world, I don't know how you come to that conclusion when that's not primarily what he was known for. It's not his, he had some debates that involved Christianity, but the majority of his debates were about hot button social issues.
But Phil, don't you think part of the way people who are huge fans of Charlie Kirk interpret him is all those other issues that he was an outspoken advocate for?
Central to Christianity.
Are our view of Christianity.
They would argue he held those views because he was a Christian.
Yeah. But, some of his views, like that black men are wildly violent, and much more violent than white men. Is that a Christian view? Is that seems to be Bible, not even adjacent.
Yeah, just total clown.
I knew Charlie. He was my friend.
Yeah.
And so he would call me on the Bible stuff, and I'm not going to overstate that I was his best friend. But we texted, we'd get together, he'd give me stuff to be praying for. He'd tag me in when he had needs on theological stuff. He is a profoundly genuine, deep Christian.
That's right.
Profoundly.
That's right.
And, for him, the top of the funnel was dealing with political and social issues. But the goal then is to always take the issues that people have interest in and to pull them into the issues that really matter.
That's right.
Which are matters of faith and Bible and Jesus and Christianity. And Charlie did that all.
He was explicit.
He was overt about it. And this was remarkably evident at his funeral. And we were all there sitting, right in front of the stage.
Yep.
Everybody got up and they're like, well, I guess we're going to talk about Charlie. We got to talk about Jesus because Charlie only talked about Jesus. And I'm like, after a couple hours, I'm like,
pretty obvious.
Pretty obvious. He's talking to RFK about Jesus. He's talking about Hegseth to Jesus.
Secretary of War.
Yeah. He's like, everybody's like, yeah, when I talked to Charlie about Jesus, I'm like, okay. I mean, he was a.
Well, there were people at the funeral that were spirit-filled men, and it was obvious when they were talking. And they identify with Charlie. And then there are people there who weren't followers of Jesus, and they still had to talk about Jesus.
They still tried.
Because that's all Charlie talked about.
Yeah, they're like, well, I know Charlie talked a lot about Jesus, and I don't know a lot about him, but I'll talk about him. It's like, well,
it was great.
Thanks for trying.
It's like, live a kind of life so that when you die, the only thing that people talk about is what you talked about. And he was explicit in his own words. He's like, look, I talk politics because it affects people, it affects policies.
Sure.
I'm passionate about it and I love people. He's like, but at the end of the day, I mean, how many hundreds of videos are on the video of him saying, at the end of the day, it's about Jesus. It's about a biblical worldview that builds beauty and strength and wonder around us. He was so explicitly Christian. They sit there and pop off.
Well, and when he got shot, he was talking about Christianity.
Yeah, literally.
Literally.
Jeez, yeah, it's wild. That's the VeggieTales, guys.
Well, see, that's largely where evangelicalism is. It's a smarmy, judgmental, virtue signaling from people who do not do a lot, and at some point they did, and continue to ride that as if anyone cared.
Yeah.
And that's most of the pastors in my generation.
Yeah. The encouraging thing, we've talked about this, is I am meeting and hearing and connecting with a ton. And I told you this. I got to get you connected with these guys. Bro,
I don't know any of these people.
You're not
I don't
online,
know.
they are out there. They're unicorns.
I am in the woods with deer and grandchildren. That's what I'm doing.
That's your life.
It's not an over-exaggeration.
It is literally his life.
Yeah, I sit by the fire with the deer and I hang out with the grandkids.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing.
60 million people reached a week online, and you're in the studio for
An hour.
Yeah. Yeah. Landon's a very busy guy.
They're very efficient.
Yes.
But to me, at the end of the day, it's like part of it is, I guess, is if you live online and you listen, then you're responding to them, not to him.
That's right.
And so if you're going to maintain any set of sort of prophetic edge, it's like I listen to him and then I speak and then you respond to me. And if I respond to you, I'm no longer listening to him. I'm listening to you. And at that point,
Write that down. That was good.
At that point, you're an unfaithful servant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you become a hireling.
Mm-hmm.
Because at that point, you start deciding, if I message it this way, I get this audience, I get this market share, I get this book deal, I get this speaking engagement, I get this sort of compensation.
Yep.
And then you're a hireling.
That's right. Well, at that point, you're the worst of politicians. You're political, not prophetic.
Well, at that point, the Bible will call you a whore because you're just for sale, and you'll lay on your back to pay your mortgage. And there's a lot of guys that do that.
Yeah. Yep.
Josh was homeschooled. Just remember.
And I've seen it with guys. I've seen
Positive,
guys that,
encouraging, safe for the whole family.
Why do people think he's controversial?
I don't know.
but I've seen guys that start as pastors and Bible teachers, and then they get a platform, and then they start worrying about maintaining their platform and market share, and then their message changes, and they're defying the entire reason that they got a platform in the first place.
That's right. Well,
And to me, that's deceptive, because at that point, the people that started following me, they followed you because you spoke on behalf of the Lord. And once you stopped listening to the Lord and you started speaking so that you would get market share or likability, at that point, you are not only dishonoring the Lord, you are an unfaithful servant of those people who are listening to you.
that's right.
And
That's
you're accountable for them. And the Bible says, not many of you should presume to be teachers. You will be judged more strictly. And if you don't have a somber fear of God in this, that you are in grave danger, and those who are following you are in a dangerous place.
That's right. No, I think as I listen to you talk, one of the things I've always appreciated about you, Pastor Mark, is you have a felt fear of God in your presence, and that's been growing in me. I had a 40-day fast, and one of the outcomes of that was just an intensified fear of God.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, as the fear of God grows, the fear of man dwindles, and like, I haven't been online since Christmas, and I almost can't. And I've tried, and it's not to say it's bad if you do, but it's like, as soon as I go online, it's just I just sense internally instant static on the line. In terms of, now you can be online and listen and be
But if it's
culturally
about
savvy.
you, there's no way to not allow that to get on you, and it's hard to not let it get in you.
That's right.
And if it's, they're talking trash about the designated hitter for the Boston Red Sox,
Who
I'm
cares?
probably not wearing that.
Right.
If it's about me and my wife,
You're
far
wearing
more
it.
likely.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
And so for those who are consuming content, it's different when the content is very personal and about you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, and even for me, it was just chasing who's saying who about what. And you kind of just into this kind of like evangelical, like gossip cul-de-sac. And it's like, who should you defend?
Yeah,
Who
I
should
don't
you not
want to be in the
defend?
Christian sorority.
it's exhausting.
Who's dating who? Who's breaking up with who? You know, who's
Yeah.
sleeping with who?
Yeah.
I don't care.
You know, so like to your point earlier about guys start with a faithful listening to God, begin listening to man, and now they move to become unfaithful. I mean, I have dear friends who have large platforms, are good, faithful men, used to get invited to stuff, and now they don't get invited to stuff because they're deemed as too controversial, because they're literally saying simple things like murdering babies, mutilating children's genitalia, and thinking
Two genders.
that there's more than two genders might not be what God says in His Word, and now they're deemed as political when in reality they're being prophetic. And so what I have observed is there are like, and people should know this, and I'm not going to use names because people would know the names, and it's not my place to tell this guy's story, these people's story, but there are entire underground mafias. I mean, there's Black Mafia, there's Big Eva Mafia, and if you step over the line, they swarm.
He doesn't know anything about that.
Yeah, I know you've never heard of this, but hypothetically, this could happen to a guy. If you step over the line, they swarm, and it's coordinated attack. They've obviously been talking. All of a sudden, you're getting shelled with text messages, and hey, you stepped over the line. You need to repent. You need to apologize. You need to back up. Invitations get retracted. You start getting separated and isolated. So they're threatening to cut you off unless you stay enmeshed and then you stay, playing by the team's rule book. And like figureheads of Big Eva and big voices in the Black church community lean on these men, and it's like a theological plantation that you're a slave on, and you're not allowed off. It's wild, it's wicked, it's demonic, and it's real, and it's controlling guys. It's controlling publishing houses. It's controlling conferences. All the major conferences that were awesome 10 or 15 years ago, they're all controlled by this underground mafia, making sure that that the narrative stays in line with the Big Eva playbook, with the Black church playbook. And it's wicked. It's wicked.
I recently, it was a throwaway comment. I said something about Carl Lentz. Don't love that he's got a platform teaching people the Bible after the affair that he has said that he is self-proclaimed. He has been vocal. Brian Houston came. I have 4,000 followers. Brian Houston came after me at 1 a.m. calling me demonic in the comments, and it's there. You can see it. I'm like, dude, hang out with your wife. Like, I've got 4,000 followers. Why does anyone care what I said? It was a throwaway comment.
Right.
But it was like,
But just for the record, we're not for adultery.
We are so against adultery.
We're against it. I've never seen a top 10 list somewhere, and I think it was on it, so I'm just going to roll with it.
You're not there. Yeah. I don't even, this is embarrassing. I'm not sure who Carl Lentz is, but.
He was a big Hillsong pastor. Every Hillsong pastor got in the comments and said I was lying. All this was false, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Carl Lentz.
In New York.
Carl Lentz did a Netflix documentary talking about his affairs. He literally did. And all I said was, a guy like that shouldn't be teaching Christians.
Is it a good documentary? Like I
don't know, because we don't watch. No, but okay. so for me, like, I'll give you an analogy. Like, some years ago, there's a story that was interesting. There was a big ship out at sea, and there was a light that was in its lane, and so the big ship was used to just telling all the little ships, get out of my lane, get out of my lane. So the big ship gets on, calls, what they think is the little ship in their lane, and says, hey, you're in our lane. We've got the right of way. Get out of our lane, get out of our lane, get out of our lane. And they get the call back, we will not be moving. You will need to move. And the big ship says, no, we're the big ship. You're in our lane. You've got to move. Get out of our lane, get out of our lane, get out of our lane, get out of our lane. Call comes back. We will not be moving. You must move and get out of our lane. Final call comes in. Get out of the lane. We're going to crash. Call comes back. You're going to need to move. We're the lighthouse.
Yeah, we're not moving.
I want to be the lighthouse.
That's right. Yeah.
You call me all you want. I ain't moving.
That's right.
You're going to have to move.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And too many guys, they're a dinghy with a flashlight.
Yeah.
And they get one call, one text, and they're like, yes, sir. Oh, row out of your lane. No.
Okay, before you preached last night, I told you, I said, hey, just so you know, last minute we canceled the
gay pole dancer.
The gay pole dancer. And what'd you say? I was going to
Just put it after me.
Like, have them if you want. Just put them
Put it
after me.
Then I don't have to deal with it. It's easy.
Yeah.
Just sequence this correctly.
Totally. We can avoid a lot of pain here if you just get the order right.
Yeah, if you want to do Drag Queen Story Hour after my sermon, perfect timing.
100%.
After I've left the parking lot,
Totally.
it's on you.
I feel no sense of responsibility.
Yeah, never ask him to do Elijah after you put a pole dancer up.
It's just not going to go well.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
What else do you want to talk about?
Yeah.
This is your show.
I think we should get political. I don't think we've gotten there yet.
Hey, thanks for not moving, by the way.
I didn't know there was an option. I got saved reading the Bible, and I believe it. So I didn't know there was an option.
Mm-hmm.
You know, to me, it's like I got married and I've stayed faithful to my wife, and I've had people say, hey, thanks for staying faithful. I didn't know there was an option.
Yeah.
I thought that's what marriage was. I thought that's what Christianity was.
Yeah.
And I don't think you get a gold star on your chart for just obeying the basic agreement of both covenants.
Yeah.
It's wild to me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the Bible's true. Jesus is Lord. That's my wife. I'm going to be faithful to my covenants. I don't burn me to the ground, cancel me, cut me off, whatever. I'll be in the woods with my grandkids.
Having a blast.
I can't wait to stand before Jesus.
Yep.
I look forward to it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you are who your kids and grandkids say you are.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what anyone says, who your wife, your kids, or grandkids. They're your resume, and they will know who you are, and who they say you are is who you are.
Yeah.
And so you can have glowing reviews and best-selling books and tour the world, and if your kids hate you and your wife is disappointed in you, then that's who you are.
Yeah. Bro, I remember when we both were in Acts 29, I was getting asked to travel more and more and more and more. I finally sat down with the board and I was like, guys, you realize all these conferences are full of the same men giving the same talk about how awesome their church plan is, and their churches suck. Their town doesn't even know they're there. Nothing's happening there, but they're rock stars on the road. And what hit me, this isn't meant to be critical to any particular, because there were some good men there too. But what hit me was, it's easy to be a rock star on the road. It takes a dude to be a rock star at home.
You got to be humble. You got to serve. You got to show up. You got to be consistent.
You got to repent. You got to deal with your actual shortcomings. You can't just always put forward yourself as the hero in a manicured, curated 45-minute talk that you give. And I'm telling you what, it is really easy.
Conferences are mirages in the desert.
That's right.
You go there, it feels like a thing, and it doesn't exist.
It just goes away. Because it's easy to talk about how to keep your water green in every other state than the state you actually live in, which is why what we're doing in Washington State is like, well, I could move, I guess, but at some point the fight's going to find you, and you got to stand it somewhere. Yeah. And so what I've been telling men is like, well, this gets into the, maybe you want to get into this.
Yeah, that's where I want to go, is Washington State.
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
I mean, we have
determined to get to the bottom of the septic tank.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly right. Like not just floating, digging to get to the bottom.
Intentionally scuba diving to the bottom of the septic tank.
In every category, from law enforcement to economics to safety to
education,
ethics. You go down the line, right? My buddy Adam, we can have him on the show. Maybe you can talk about it. But the point being is, as I'm watching it unfold, people say politics don't matter. No, they absolutely matter. It's statistically proven in red states, churches grow, churches thrive, evangelism rates are wildly high. In blue states, everything's choking, everything's dying, because blue states are becoming more and more synonymous with demonic strongholds.
Well, they're anti-heterosexual marriage,
life,
and Christian family,
liberty,
and life.
Yep.
And so it's like, so you're going to discourage marriage. You're going to mutilate children. You're going to brainwash them into government school. And anybody who works, you're going to tax them and take money to fund that.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, how then do you get married and have 4 kids and mom stay home with the kids when you can't afford to live there? It just becomes economically unviable.
That's right. So
you can believe in Jesus. You also need to believe in math.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We want to build the family capital of the world, and it hit me probably 3 years ago that we can't build a family out of the world if families can't afford to live here. Economics matter to families. If you can't buy a home, if you can't get a job, if you can't cover basic
How
needs.
much is property taxes here?
Oh,
Like,
they're
let's say you buy and homes are expensive. So let's say you buy, I don't know what, $600,000-$800,000 home. Which here is a house?
which here is a very small house. I mean, the median price of a home in Wenatchee used to be, I can remember, it was like $222.
And you're a small town, like
And we're a
40,000 people or something.
35,000 in Wenatchee. Median house price is like north of 500, 550, 600. And we're talking like small cracker box house. And we're not building new houses, by the way.
Yeah.
All the houses we're building are in Chelan, and they're like $10 million money coming from Seattle.
Sure.
We're not
So
building
how much
starter
is
homes.
taxes on a $600,000 home? Property taxes.
I mean, it could depend on what county you're in. It could be 12, 14, 16,000 bucks.
Oh my gosh.
Some people's property taxes is more than their mortgage payment.
And that means you actually don't own your home. You're renting it back from the government.
And
wild.
you're funding
Antichrist.
objective wickedness. So when they threw the tea in the harbor, the Boston Tea Party, they were protesting a 3 or 4% tax that was funding the king's parties, whatever. We're funding objectively statewide wickedness at every level. And my challenge to men is, like, if you haven't had a moral dilemma in paying your taxes, you're not paying attention. This isn't just I'm not just some libertarian going, oh, I hate taxes. Like, no, I understand government, necessity for infrastructure, blah, 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 blah. But when we shift from rugged individualism to the warmth of collectivism, we are moving into a socialistic, communistic society that has never worked anywhere in the history of humanity to bring about the flourishing of anybody except for the few at the top running the whole thing. And so for us, what I've seen in Washington State is at every level, the state policies are working against and making it impossible for men and women to obey the first commandment given in the Bible, which is to be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. And so I'm looking at going, this is a moral, ethical, biblical war where the government that's over me is acting like a God rather than submitting themselves to God. Therefore, as a man representing God,
Are we at
I
civil,
have to say
civil
something.
disobedience?
That's right. Well, we're in that, we're in some ways moving past that. It's like, well, what's next? And I won't say names or even say out loud what they're saying, but good men in this state that people would recognize the name are floating questions in closed doors that do we need to consider X, Y, Z? I mean, like, is this where we're at? Saying things that you read about in history books, not that you ever thought would happen in your lifetime, because they see the road that we're on. We are as a state, we are not drifting toward, we are Mach 10 moving toward a failed state. They just passed income tax in the Senate, I believe, moving to the House of Representatives now. If it passes, it's called...
Seattle will be the most taxed city in America above New York.
Oh, it's not even close. I mean, they tax you everywhere you turn, and the income tax is designed to tax unrealized gains in stocks and house value. So think about that.
Thievery.
It's absolute highway robbery.
You might someday profit, so we will make sure we get our portion today, whether or not you ever profit.
Well, you get the upside, but you don't get the downside.
You buy a house for $200,000. They will drive by, because we do drive-by assessments here. They drive by, wave their wand. It's worth $600,000 now. Says who? Says the guy that drove by in the car looking at your house from the street. So now there's a $400,000 difference between what you paid for it and what they say it's worth. They're going to call that unrealized gains. That's equity that no one ever touches or has access to.
You haven't sold it. You don't have the cash.
Haven't sold it.
Yeah.
The market hasn't proven it. We're just saying it's worth that.
Yep.
They're going to tax that now at a rate. Maybe it's $15,000, $20,000 that you owe to the state. Where do you get that money? Nobody has $20,000 laying around. And so now you got to sell the home. Now people are going into foreclosure and selling their home statewide. The state fails. And I'm like, that's happening right now. And these idiots think this is a good idea. And it just
Because they don't own homes.
It's just mind-boggling. And so when you're in a blue state, you realize, okay, here's the deal. And I have very good men in my church who've left Washington State, who I love dearly. One was a business partner. He's in Wyoming now building homes. I love him to death. And he just in tears, he's like, Josh, I can't do it anymore. You know I'm a fighter. You know I stand with you. I don't know who to fight. This is a nameless, faceless bureaucracy that bends me over every day with a broom handle, and I get the broom handle treatment. I don't like that. And here's the thing, Mark. I don't hold it against that man for moving, because I've called my men to be stronger men. And if they have nothing to fight, I shouldn't expect them to bend over and take it every day. That's not being a stronger man. That's being that's being a bitch for a guy in a jail. So when they move, I don't hold it against them. What I'm trying to do as a pastor is find ways to give men to fight, because if they can't fight, they'll leave.
Yeah.
Because they're good men. And you realize policies in blue states are designed to push the strong men out, so only the weak stay and they can be controlled. And the biggest export, Adam told me last week, the big export of Washington that used to be, well, this is a nuclear state, this is an aeronautic state, this is a technology state, this is a timber state, this is an agricultural state, this is a farming state, this is we have what do you call it, a port state. We should be leading the country, right? This is a state that's bleeding our biggest export, conservative voters. And if we as a church don't figure out a way to plug that hole, we won't have the people we need to turn the ship. So we are in a decisively engaged do or die moment as the church in Washington, and more pastors in blue states need to wake up. That's happening in your state too. I've had no less than 15 men in the last 6 weeks in this sacred assembly where we've been calling men to stay, dig in, find the high ground, build a community, lock in, and make war. 15 men come to me, tears in their eyes. I had taken a job. I had bought property. It's Idaho, Arizona, Texas. That's where I plant churches. That's where all my guys go. I had property, had jobs. God convicted me. I'm staying. What's the plan? So good men will stay if they have a battle plan to engage in. But if pastors aren't giving them a way to fight, the best men are going to leave. And I'm telling you, this isn't prophetic, this is math. The clock is ticking on when you're going to close the doors of your church, because there'll be nobody there left.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, and in that too, like I'm in the life stage now, like, Landon's, my son-in-law, and all I think about is the kids and the grandkids.
Yep. That's right.
Yep.
Like, how is your family going to thrive? And your son, who's my best friend, I love him with my whole heart. Like, what's it going to be like for him when he goes in 20 years or whatever it is to get married and
That's right.
start his family? Like, where is it going to be? Because if it's intolerable now, give it 20 years.
Oh, unlivable. And here's the thing, bro. If the church doesn't engage aggressively in the public square, and by public square, I mean politics. If the church doesn't engage aggressively and take back their role as a part of God's conscience in bringing dominion to the earth over government, if they don't step in aggressively in the ballot, we're going to be forced to be considering taking measures with bullets. That's not a threat. That's history.
Yeah.
That's how these things work.
Yeah.
Better men than us have had hard decisions to make. We read about them in books. We watch their movies. Isn't this great? I've had a pit in my stomach the last 2 years. Is this what Jefferson felt like? Is this what George Washington felt like? Where these men realize if we don't take action, that will probably end in our physical demise and death, we will have nothing left to hand to our grandkids, and then we're going to violate the basic rule of the Bible, which is do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I'm pretty sure that we don't want others to leave it worse than they found it for us when we get there.
Yeah.
And so for me, like one of the basic rules that we teach our kids at the school, my kids, is leave everything better than you found it. My dad taught me that when I was a kid. You borrow something, man, you're giving it back in twice the shape. You borrow a car, it's car wash, inside, out, full tank of gas, air in the tires full. You give back a better car. That was my dad. To this day, if I borrow someone's cabin, it gets a full cleaning, kitchen, bathrooms, living room. I take pictures of the rooms to show how we left it, because I just had this thing in me. I would never want someone to think that they gave me something to steward for a weekend. Here, you want to hear a funny fear? I'm afraid that I'll borrow a friend's cabin. I'll leave
tell
it
your
clean.
dad.
No, I'll leave it clean. Someone will come in between me and when they go there again and trash it, and they'll think that was me. This thing in my head. That's a great principle to teach a kid. How about a grown man in his community? How about a grown man in his state?
Yeah.
How about a grown-ass man in his nation?
Yeah.
But part of it is pastors need to be pointing their fingers in the chest of men. Will you leave this nation better than you found it?
Yeah.
And that's not the trajectory we're on right now.
No. And you've been spending a lot of time in DC. You're one of those pastors making a difference. you've got a great man in your church, Adam James. I think this is a good transition in our last, and I know we don't say that, Pastor
We
Mark.
also transition.
Yeah.
Segue,
Pivot.
Yeah, we don't transition.
No one's transitioning here.
But
Very clear.
But I think you have a big announcement you want to share online, maybe an invite.
Yeah.
So let's in our final 5, 10 minutes.
Awesome.
Let's jump into that. So I'll bow out, and Adam James will take my seat.
Awesome. Thanks, Pastor Landon. One thing, I'll give an invite. Some buddies of mine are hosting an event at the Museum of the Bible in DC.
which is fantastic.
It's an
If
awesome
you've not
place.
been, it's cool.
Yeah, the Green family, incredible.
Did a great job.
It's a world-class Smithsonian grade museum. We'll be up in their ballroom at the top floor after hours, so you can night at the museum, kind of fun. And we're going to be rolling out what we believe God's given us as a divine strategy to help engage. Because there are some pastors who aren't engaged politically because they're cowards. But there are a lot of other pastors who are not engaged in politics because they don't know what to do.
They don't have the on-ramp.
Yeah, and so some are cowards, some are compromised, and then some are just like
Clueless.
I would do something, but I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's those men that we're inviting to this event. And we're just kind of rolling out in fun event in DC at the Museum of the Bible, dinner on me. And we're just going to be, might have some cool guests. Got to be kind of cryptic here on that. But we're going to roll out to these men what we're doing. We've partnered with For Liberty and Justice, Nate Schatzline, Texas State Rep. 2 terms, Adam? Was it 2 terms?
He's in his third.
He's in his third. If you've heard any news coming out of Texas that encouraged you, destroying DEI, hardening the border, getting 10 Commandments back in public schools, getting prayer back in public schools, getting school choice statewide, all of that's Nate Schatzline. This guy's an animal. It's legislation he wrote, legislation he sponsored.
Awesome.
He's a good dude. They started For Liberty and Justice, Mercy Culture, Land and Shot. It was basically giving churches a way to get involved politically. You buy a house across from the state capitol. You fill it with prayer and worship. You start taking the presence of God to the people's house. Here in Washington State, Olympia is our capital. We've been going to Olympia now for a couple weeks. Adam's been there multiple times. And what hit me was the reason the Spirit of God isn't in Olympia is because God's people aren't in Olympia. Christianity isn't like this osmosis, magic spell. You pray over something out there that gets cast on something. The Spirit of God goes where the people of God are. If we're filled with the Spirit of God, we can take him there when we go there. And there are a few Christians fighting valiantly, but by and large, it's godless people in our state capitol putting forth godless legislation that hurts people. And so we came under the conviction that we can't tell people to go there if we're not willing to go there ourselves. And so God just kind of gave us a divine strategy. And we're not publishing this for a couple weeks, I think, because as of this recording, our church doesn't know yet, but when this comes out, our church will know because we're announcing it in a week and a half. But God gave me a vision while I was talking with Nate Schatzline about how to start a chapter in every state. And honestly, guys, if you're listening, you're a pastor, I'd love to reach out to you. We'll maybe drop an email in the comments, Landon, that they can email. If you'd like to come to DC March 11th, it's invite only, limited registration for our event at the Museum of the Bible, where I'm going to be talking about how we're rolling. You can roll this out in your church. I'd love to have you. Email me. We'll try to see if we can get you on the schedule. If we have more demand, we may do some more in the future. Who knows? But God gave me a vision, talking with Nate Schatzline For Liberty and Justice. They flipped 111 elections in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. A remarkable step-by-step plan churches can roll out where you train, equip, and then vet politicians, Christians, to go into the political public square, to go into the political environment, trained and equipped in the gospel and the good news and biblical principles, equipped how to win, and then you start bringing the word of God back into the public square. God gave me a vision. I walked into Kyle Strong's office, and I said, this is going to happen. He's like, you think so? I said, it's going to happen. 3 nights later, you know the story, after a sacred assembly, God gave him a prophetic dream. He woke up the next morning, sent us a text, and now we're in it. And so part of the divine strategy is what's happening now, and I'll hand it off to my buddy here, Adam James, the most respected man I know, the best pastor I know. I've never met a pastor better than Adam James. Filled with Spirit, charismatic, teaches the Bible, people person, shepherd, fearless, courageous, step into conflict, call balls and strikes, has been my wingman as my number 2 guy since we started, planted Grace City with us, 18 years into this thing. Faithful, godly wife, godly family, godly man. And our play is this.
I'm running to represent the Americans of the 12th District for the Washington State House of Representatives.
Let's go. Woo! Pretty awesome. So the play is every church needs to find their best man and send him to the darkest place in your state. I think until pastors rise up and step back in the public square, just hoping some guy finds enough gumption in your church to do it it isn't going to help. The Johnson Amendment, POTUS has removed the teeth of that. I'm going to frickin' wear a James for Washington shirt in the pulpit every Sunday for 4 months. Can't touch me. President Trump, thanks be to God, for all you pastors out there that criticize him and tell him to take down his non-racist, racist, accidental tweets because you're morons and have no discernment about the man in his heart. For all you who are gripe about him, he has done more for you and your religious freedom and your ability to be a pastor than any president in my lifetime. The Johnson Amendment's teeth has been removed. IRS employees that were hired to harass churches and Christian colleges and pastors have been fired. You are free to speak plainly and clearly and freely about Jesus and politics as much as you want, and he's asking for it. POTUS has said very clearly, it's not my job to turn our nation around because our problem isn't political, it's spiritual. It's the church's job, it's the pastor's job. He's inviting more pastors to the White House than any president on record. He wants pastors there not for a photo shoot. He wants pastors there to speak into the policy of his administration. What's wrong? What's happening? He has a fundamental conviction that churches do better work in communities than the state does. He wants to give money, resources, responsibility back to the jurisdiction of the family and the church. I've never seen a politician that wants to so aggressively shrink the government's footprint so as to strengthen the church and family footprint. And that's what we have in this window of time with this particular president. And I'm all in for it to help however I can invite as many pastors in to step through this window of grace that God's given us, because it'll close quickly. And if it closes and we missed it, it may not open again, and we'll have ourselves to blame alone. It's not President Trump's job to fix our country, because fundamentally it's broken at a spiritual level. Yeah. And he agrees with it. So he's doing the deals and the things and trying to get us strong economically, but he's looking at pastors going, I want to make your job as easy as possible so you can do it with courage and gusto and gumption and win our nation back to God. The guy's calling for an entire day of celebration on May 17th to rededicate our country back to God. Who does that? This is wild. I think you're going to be there. I'm probably going to be there.
I think I'm preaching at 9 a.m.
May 17th, put it on your calendar. They want 1 million people there celebrating our nation. It's incredible. So we've talked about, we're celebrating our 50th. This is America's 5th Jubilee. And this is it's a window of destiny, man. So if you're a pastor, if you're listening to me and you're like, that guy is such a racist idiot, no problem. But if you're listening to this going like, I want to be a part of that, I want to step into that, man, I don't know how we do this, Landon. We put an email in the comments or something. We'll find a way the guys can reach out. Okay. Send me an email. My team will put you on the list and we'll reach out to you, because I fundamentally believe that there is an army of armor bearers out there who are ready to follow the prophetic Jonathan up the hill to kick the enemies, you know what. And that's the window of time we're in. So, Adam, real quick, do we got time for him to share a 2-minute blurb of what he wants to do?
Well, I just want to begin by honestly thank you to Pastor Mark and you, Pastor Josh. I mean, you guys are literally the generals of this generation that we need. And so for all the other men who have watched and listened to your Bible teaching, your following, the things that you've spoken to boldly from the pulpit, it's exactly what is needed across this nation. And so may your tribe increase, and we're following your lead. I've been following your guys' lead. So I just want to say thank you, honor both of you men for the voices you have and how you've used them. Yeah. And it's been incredible. So, I mean, as I look at what you're saying, there's going to be no righteous change in the state of Washington or anywhere if the people of God don't go. Yeah. And, God has raised up godly men and women from the business world in past times, but it is like, the hour is late, the hour is dark. It is now men and women literally from the church, filled with the Holy Spirit. It is time for the church to go, or the state dies. That's right. And so if we surrender the high places and don't enter the gates of the nobles, then quite literally we're choosing judgment and destruction. And we've been on that path under horrific, abysmal policies that are terrible principles that are backed by principalities. That's the reality. Because it's not political, it's spiritual. Yep. Principalities behind principles. Principles drive policies. And we're literally running off the cliff, and we're driving out good people. Yeah. We're choking out families. We're trampling business, and all the issues that are wrong in the state of Washington, along with other states, blue states in the union, they are fundamentally, without question, moral and spiritual issues at the root and at the core. That's right. And so we can engage on the level of the political wisdom of the policies and look at the statistics and look at the reality of what it's producing. And there's no question the state of Washington is heading in the wrong direction rapidly, and it's destroying families. It's destroying businesses. I've lived here in the state of Washington my entire life.
Yeah.
Born and raised, small town, hometown kid in the center of the state. Both of my families on my grandparents' side came to Washington State to start families, new opportunities, jobs, to grow life, and now they are being driven out because they were successful. We have an amazing state, incredible natural resources.
But your uncle.
We led in the war effort. You know, Hanford, the hydroelectric dams, the aluminum production that built the planes to win the war. Washington State was leading the Union.
That's
we
right.
have so many natural resources and opportunity here. The government is literally trampling the be fruitful prosperity, choking it out. What needs to be unlocked again, Washington State should be leading.
That's right.
In every way. Families should want to be coming here. It should be the family capital of the world. And it
Yes.
is, and it's going to be.
That's
but
right.
we got a lot of work to do. And if the church doesn't step up and lead, like that's the thing for me is going, we have to look in the mirror.
Yeah. That's right.
We've held the gate open
Yep.
for evil to advance.
Yep.
I've been in these rooms over the last year looking, where are the leaders that God's raising up in politics, in business, in the church? Where are the leaders? And Olympia, or your state capital, wherever you're watching this from, is a reflection of who we've sent there or who we haven't sent there.
That's right.
And the quality of leaders and of servants, public servants. Talk about, for me, it's like, do you love your neighbor?
Yeah.
Then you can't be absent and silent the way the church has been for generations.
Yep.
For a generation now in Washington State.
Yep.
AWOL, MIA, it's inexcusable, and the pastor is not calling their people to action, or men and women not seriously considering, is God calling me? Is the Holy Spirit calling me to enter the arena?
Yep.
Because if the Spirit of God is reviving the church, when he does, and I believe that's happening all over this nation, I do. I believe we're seeing a work of the Holy Spirit reviving the church. It is intended to lead to public and social reformation on the foundation of biblical principles that are American principles, that are constitutional principles, that flow from a biblical worldview and design that provide the flourishing and prosperity and freedom of all people. You don't even have to love Jesus to live under the blessing of the shade of the tree that his truth provides. And so if we truly love our neighbor, we have to stand up, speak up, show up. It's time for the church to go or the state dies.
Well, and the stat that is so discouraging and incriminating is less than 30% of average American churchgoers are even registered to vote. We have the votes in the church, both in Washington and the nation, to turn the tide. So when you live in a constitutional republic, you have no one to blame but yourself.
Yeah, but if you're a shepherd, your flock follows you.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if you're not going anywhere,
that's right. Well, and here's the hack with that. If guys want to come to DC, we're going to give them the divine strategy God's given us. It hit me when, let's talk about the good-hearted Christians who don't know what to do. They look at a ballot. They're like, I don't know these people. I don't want to accidentally vote for some guy who's an idiot. I'm reading a little commercial blurb in the. I mean,
it's all propaganda.
It's all propaganda. So I've voted for 25 years in this state, and I would always call Clyde Ballard, Sean Ballard, because they know everybody in politics. Who is this guy? What's this initiative? And in Washington, they word the initiative so hard.
Oh yeah,
that like you're like, I know what I don't want to vote for.
Yeah, the
and
Human
I'm not
Life
sure what
and
this
Flourishing Abortion Campaign.
Okay, yeah, totally. And then it's like double negatives, and they flip it. So you're like, what am I voting for? I mean, they're taking straw polls like on the other side of elections, and it's like there's a large percentage of people that didn't actually vote for what they wanted to vote for because they couldn't understand the language. It's all designed that way, right? And so election integrity is a big thing. But what I realized was, and we haven't told our church yet, so as of this recording, when this airs, we'll have told them. Here's my prophetic prediction. When we take this to our church and announce that Adam James, probably the best man they know, is stepping up, making massive family sacrifices. I mean, we're moving into houses for safety.
Got to go from a nice rural town to the state capital.
Bro, Olympia, we've been there. The realtors who we met to just walk around the town, they're like, it's dark. Like, we don't say we're Christians. We got to keep our head down. If we want our business to thrive, we have to modify what we say and be measured, or we'll just be persecuted. When we leave our city to go to visit our kids in Idaho, there's a felt lift of darkness when we hit the city limits. It's a dark, dark place, right? So when we tell our church that we're sending the best man they know into the darkest place in our state, that's the nuclear center causing all of our pain, they're going to lose their mind. 10-minute standing ovation, crying, cheering, handing in babies to hug and kiss. It's like they're going to be activated because all of a sudden they know this man and they can get behind him.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden your church is engaged. And so what I've been telling pastors is, look, here's the deal. Pick your best man and send him into a school board race, into a county commissioner race, into a mayoral race, into the city council. Get him engaged, and that will have the Starbucks effect nationally. And what I mean is, when Starbucks started buying stores and planning stores, all the kind of independent coffee shops in Washington panicked. They're like, Starbucks came in across the street. I'm going to go out of business. Just the opposite happened. Their business increased because when Starbucks moved into town, everyone's interest in coffee went up. Same thing what I think will happen politically. We're not sending him into a federal race, but I believe us sending Adam into a state representative race is going to affect the outcome of the midterms, because now more people in my church are activated and engaged politically at every level. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's easy to get people activated for national stuff for some reason. It's hard to get people activated at a local level, and that's what actually counts. The things you can do in a city, in a county, in a state are crazy if you just get involved. And I realize we're busy and got kids and they have time. So I'm in a season of life where I'm like, okay, my son just bought a house. I just got my daughter in a house. I got 2 more kids who want to buy a house. If we stay on this trajectory, it's the most expensive housing in the state. It's the worst state to get a first home. If I don't take action as a 46-year-old to make drastic change quickly, my kids have no future here. So that's the season of life I'm in. That's where I'm going. You want to get involved, send an email. DC, Museum of the Bible, how to activate your church, how to activate your state. We'll be there with Nate Schatzline and For Liberty and Justice, showing you how to start a For Liberty and Justice chapter, how to participate in one. We're not asking you to come and take a commercial and give us money. We want to give you a playbook to activate you to become a part of the black-robed regiment that I believe God is raising up across this nation to, in this prophetic moment and window of destiny and grace, step through it decisively for change.
Thank you for running, Adam. He's a great man. I've known Adam a very long time. And my strong encouragement, because you are a pastor and a Bible teacher, I've had you cover my pulpit. I would encourage pastors, give him your pulpit.
Yes.
If you don't have the courage or know exactly what to say, just give him the mic.
Yep.
He's a pastor. He's a Bible teacher. We'd both lay hands and send him right now.
Yep.
Just let him do his thing.
Yes.
He's a pastor first. You're now a public servant second.
Yep.
And this is part of your pastoral ministry.
Yes.
And it is shepherding beyond just a local flock, but an entire state.
Yep.
And so, I feel like just saying for pastors as well, open up your pulpit, give this guy a shot, and let him come preach and teach and give biblical worldview and do his thing. And then my hope and prayer would be that would be a precedent where when good pastors go into politics, then other pastors would open their pulpits and allow those men to sort of lead the charge. And recently, not to dominate the conversation, but we saw this with Marco Rubio.
Yes.
On the international stage, you're just like, that was a brilliant articulation of a Christian biblical worldview that would be fantastic for every church to have preached.
That's right. Yep. He's a good man. He's a good man. Yep. He loves the Lord. He's a man of principle. I've got to run into him, and he's genuine. He's a good man. We are, and one of POTUS's superpowers is he knows how to pull in a strong team. First term, he took a lot of counsel from politicians and kind of laid his own playbook aside to kind of, because he's actually, I think, very humble. I think God sees the humility of his heart, and it's why he's honoring him. People lose their mind when I say that. Have your own opinion if you want. I've witnessed remarkable humility in the man, and I think it's witnessed in his service. But because he's humble, he listened to politicians, laid his own playbook aside, and got their butt kicked. Mm-hmm. They learned their lesson, came back the second term, and he's run his own playbook, and he's brought remarkable people around him. And Christians should be encouraged. There are a lot of spirit-filled, Jesus-loving people who are working hard in the White House administration and executive team to do good for our nation. So please continue praying for them. Midterms are hugely important.
If we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be lawfare and gridlock for 2 years.
It'll be impeachment trials and circus monkey trials for 2 years. And all the good they're doing will grind to a stop. Only 2 presidents have won a midterm. I think it was Roosevelt in World War II and Bush after 9/11. So if you want to be a miracle, and that's what I'm praying for.
Cool.
Awesome. Josh, you want to close our time in prayer?
I love to do it. Father in heaven, we ask in Jesus' name that you would give your church boldness and clarity in this hour of destiny. Father, for those who are cowering in the cave, would you cause them to hear the sound of victory on the mount, that God is waiting for them to come out of their cave and charge into the battle. Father, for those who are not sure what to do, maybe this podcast would help, or coming to DC to an event to hear about what other pastors are doing. Father, would you give my brother favor as he goes into this race? We know in this scenario that winning is obedience, not necessarily winning the race. So we're stepping out in obedience. It's going to be a tough race. Who knows where it's going to go? But I'm grateful for his boldness and his courage that I'm praying will be an example for many pastors to come in the near future. Thank you for Pastor Mark and Pastor Landon for their relentless faithfulness in following you. Thank you for the model and example they are to all of us. Lord, if there's been anything said from me in this podcast that would be unhelpful, Lord, just strike it from people's mind, and whatever has someone's name on it, drive it deep into their spirit to cause them to be encouraged and equipped for the ongoing work of making good battle for Jesus' sake. We love you, Father. Amen.
Amen.
Hey guys, thanks for joining us for the Mark Driscoll Show today. If you were encouraged, just drop a comment below. We really appreciate you tuning in. And if you text live to 99383, we will let you know every time we're going live, and it'd be a big blessing to us as well. Till next week, guys, thanks for tuning in.